Over the last few weeks, we've been chronicling just how far Michigan Governor Rick Snyder is willing to go to appease corporate interests and undermine democracy in his state. 2 weeks ago, we learned that the city of Benton Harbor in Michigan was taken over by one of Governor Snyder's financial managers, or czars, appointed by Snyder to set up shop in the city, fire all the elected officials, break union contracts, cut critical local services, and sell off huge chunks of the city's infrastructure to transnational corporations or local Republican businessmen. But now there's another story coming out of Detroit surrounding another one of Snyder's financial planners, this guy named Robert Bob. To cut down the deficit, his words, Bob is closing 8 schools in Detroit and selling off another 45 schools to charter corporations where CEOs can make millions off these new monopolies in education. One of those schools being closed down is the Catherine Ferguson Academy, a school specifically designed to cater to pregnant and parenting teens and their children. The school was featured on Oprah for having a 90% graduation rate and a 100% college acceptance rate after graduation. Very impressive numbers, but not good enough for Republican Rick Snyder, who wants to shut it down or maybe just hand it off to one of his campaign donors. A protest was staged at that school by parents, teachers, and students to fight back against the proposed closure of their school. But the police were immediately called in and ended up hauling more than a dozen people, including children, off to jail. Take a look.
That was happening outside. Inside, more than a dozen students, 2 of their children and a teacher, refused to leave Catherine Ferguson Academy, the school they love so much. One by one, the teen moms were brought out in handcuffs. Some kicking and shouting. Others flashing peace signs and smiles.
So what can we make of these latest actions by Governor Rick Snyder? Joining me now is a woman behind the movement to fight back against Snyder's radical agenda, Shanta, the national chairperson of By Any Means Necessary. Shanta, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What's the latest out of Detroit, and what's your organization doing?
We're fighting to defend public education in Detroit. We're looking at a situation in Detroit now where it is the policy of both the governor and the mayor of our city, Dave Bing, to try to depopulate the school, to end public education, and to create a situation in which the new Jim Crow is being implemented on a full-scale basis. And it's something that we just refuse to allow to happen in the city of Detroit.
Shanta, why would they go after the Catherine Ferguson Academy? This seems like the ultimate success story.
You know, it's the closure of this school, I think, is just a scandal that represents the scandal that is taking place in the closure of public education throughout the city of Detroit. We have a situation now in which there are literally tens of thousands of school students that are being pushed out of the public school system as a conscious policy because of school closures to their neighborhood schools. And when the schools close, the neighborhoods decline. And we've just seen that in place after place in Detroit. Now we're left with a core group of schools, some of the best schools in the country, schools that have served Detroit students very well, like Catherine Ferguson, a model school that's provided young mothers an opportunity to not only get a high school diploma, but to learn the skills that they need to learn to be good mothers, and has provided their young children with an opportunity to come to the school that they're attending, the high school that they're attending, and receive child care services, early education programs, health care services, to be able to be in a farm in the city of Detroit and learn all kinds of skills that they could never get anyplace else in any other school. And this school's been put on the auction block. It's going to be either sold off to some private charter company, or if my organization, BAMN, and the students in that school have their way, it's going to stay a Detroit public school. And we are prepared to take action, occupying that school, doing whatever is needed by any means necessary, keeping that school open.
Would it be a misstatement or even an exaggeration on my part to suggest that this very successful school, were it privatized, could actually generate a very, very nice profit, a substantial profit for its new owners?
Yeah, I think it could. And here's the problem that we're running into in Detroit. As more and more public schools are being closed, parents are looking at all kinds of alternatives now that do require them to pay money. There's been a resurgence of people looking at religious schools and at other kinds of academies that mean that you have to pay for the education that you get. So not only do those schools get the per pupil funding that comes from the state, they also are able to make, in addition to that, money based on poor parents having to pay for a decent education for their children. And it really is, it's an abrogation of one of the most important democratic rights that we achieved through the civil rights movement and that has existed in this country, which is the right to public education. And coupled with that in the city of Detroit and other places, we've seen an ending of our democratic right to elect our local school boards or city administrators, mayors, city councils that can oversee the will of the people in terms of the priorities and the running of their city.
Shanta, it seems like this is a knife into the heart of Detroit. I used to live in Detroit, so I'm familiar and worked in Detroit. One of the things historically that every town in America will use to say to companies, you know, come build your offices here, bring your workforce here, is to say your workers are going to want to move to our community because there is good public education here, easily accessible, good schools that your kids can go to. It's like one of the major selling points. And I don't understand why Governor Snyder would want to rip that out of Detroit. What am I missing?
I can't answer that question. The city of Detroit has just been under assault for the last several years. Arne Duncan has said that he wants to prove that what happened in New Orleans with the charterization of that whole school system could be done in Detroit without a natural disaster like Hurricane Katrina. And so we've just seen our city just being under a concerted attack against our rights. And we think it really is an expression of the new Jim Crow. Detroit is a city that, like many, many of the cities that are being placed under these receiverships, is a majority Black and Latino city. It is a majority minority city. And we have taken great pride for years in terms of being a leading center for civil rights and for equality. And to have this thrust upon us has it's been a devastation to the city, and it will continue to be. It's part of why we feel that it's so essential for young people to step forward, become leaders, build a new civil rights movement, because it's just got to be done if we're going to save the city of Detroit and other cities like it.
Absolutely, by any means possible. Shanta, thank you very much.
Thank you.